The fraternity of motorsports has all too soon lost another of its most enduring personalities and true competitors. We present and dedicate tonight's Speedweek program to the spirit of our friend, Neil Bonnett. We are back at Daytona International Speedway, where dusk is just beginning to fall, and the first weekend of the stock car portion of Speedweeks has come to a close. Hi everyone, I'm Bob Jenkins, and we now continue our coverage of Speedweeks 94, the stock car portion here at Daytona. You have just witnessed the ARCA 200, a very exciting race that was won this afternoon by Mike Wallace. Joining me is my NASCAR broadcast partner, Benny Parsons. And Benny, I think we're all still kind of shake off this tragedy that occurred last Friday.
Bob, it was unbelievable. We wanted to get 93 behind us because of the tragedy we saw in 93. Let's get to 94, get a fresh start. And we don't even get started, and already another tragedy.
But as is the case and what has to be done, we got to go on. A great race today, and that's all you can do is just put it behind you.
That's all you can do is just continue on.
Well, Daytona International Speedway opened its doors to ARCA and Busch Clash competitors last Wednesday, and by Friday at noon, the anticipation was at a peak because the Winston Cup cars were about to come onto the racetrack for their preparation for the run for the pole. The accident occurred as Neil Bonnett was getting up to speed on a lap in his Country Time Chevrolet. His car made heavy contact with a four-turn wall and came to a rest on the apron. Neil Bonnett was taken immediately to Halifax Memorial Hospital, was pronounced dead approximately 45 minutes later of severe head injuries.
Bonnett was a proud member of the famed Alabama Gang and a 19-year NASCAR Winston Cup veteran. He entered this group by virtue of his numerous short-track stock car wins throughout the Southeast in the 60s. Bonnett began his Winston Cup career in 1974 in a car he entered himself. Neil signed on with the famed Wood Brothers in 1979 and enjoyed his greatest success, winning 6 races in 3 years, including the prestigious Southern 500 in 1981. Bonnett's career was temporarily cut short in 1990 when he was involved in a crash at Darlington. Neil always was easygoing and very popular with the fans. He decided to embark on a secondary career in television as an expert analyst for CBS, TBS, and TNN, in addition to hosting the popular magazine show appropriately called Winners. While his on-track career was on hold, he stayed in racing form while tutoring son David in his own quest for a full-time Busch Grand National ride. Last year, Bonnett began another comeback when he accepted the offer of hunting and fishing companion Dale Earnhardt. His first race back in the Die Hard 500 at Talladega ended in this wild ride along the Tri-Oval. Bonnett was uninjured and returned to the broadcast booth a short time later. Neil's last Winston Cup appearance came at Atlanta in November. He fell out shortly after the start, but was in a sister car to the one that Dale Earnhardt drove to his 6th Winston Cup championship.
Benny, I know you competed with Neil many, many times. Give me your fondest memory.
You know, my son brought up something yesterday I had forgotten. I crashed about 85 at Talladega on Friday practicing. Neil Bonnett was right behind me. He spun trying to avoid me. When I came to a stop, I was trying to get my breath. He got out of his car, came over to see if I was okay. He looked in the garage area, and my children were hung up on the fence wanting to see if their father was okay. He motioned to them, hey, your dad is okay. So my son relayed that story to me yesterday, how much he thought of Neil Bonnett. And Neil's death has certainly affected every team member, driver, fan, and media member here. And we've asked several of those people about their thoughts.
Well, his humor, you know, he was always joking around. As a matter of fact, he used to tell me, he said, you know, we don't need any foreign like you in racing. In Alabama, so we don't know what Cubans are. He always used to joke me about that, my accent. He said I would never qualify to be an Alabamian.
The fact that everybody liked him, you know, just the kind of person he was. You know, my mom and dad have been around the sport a lot of years, but they've never been that close to it. And Darrell and I is about all they really know, but they love Neil Bonnett. You know, Darrell was Neil's teammate there for a while, and they got to know him. And you know, I think the respect and the admiration people had for his attitude and his friendliness is so important, and I mean that'll live on a long time.
I guess the most thing I remember about Neil Bonnett is last year when we won the Busch Clash down here, and Neil done a lot of the testing for us, and Neil helped us get where we were at. You know, we'd come off of a bad year. We came down here, we won the Busch Clash, and Neil was in victory circle with us. And the look on his face, the look in Neil's eyes, knowing that Neil wanted to be back in a race car. I guess the most special thing I'll ever remember about Neil Bonnett.
Neil Bonnett's funeral will be held tomorrow afternoon at 2 o'clock at the Garywood Assembly of God in Hueytown, Alabama. Neil is survived by his wife Susan, son David, and daughter Kristen. Neil Bonnett was 47 years old.
This special live edition of Speedweek from Daytona is brought to you by Suzuki. Your Suzuki motorcycle and ATV dealer has the ride you've been waiting for and the financing to get it.
Welcome back to Speedweek from Daytona International Speedway. Well, the 16th annual Busch Clash was held earlier today, and two drivers who played a very important part in last year's Daytona 500 took right up where they left off. The race pitting 1293 pole winners and wildcard entrant P.J. Jones began after a short rain delay. Pole sitter Kenny Schrader brought the field down for the green flag. It didn't take long for third-place starter Dale Earnhardt to make his move. By lap 3 in the 10-lap first segment, Earnhardt pulled in front, followed by Mark Martin and Ernie Irvan. And Earnhardt held off Irvan to win the $25,000 first segment. A rain shower during the yellow flag intermission delayed the action for about an hour. The field was inverted for the restart with Bobby Labonte up front and Earnhardt in the rear. Mark Martin pulled into the lead while Irvan and Earnhardt climbed into the top 5. The closest call came as Jeff Gordon and Brett Bodine got together on the front stretch. With 3 laps to go, Earnhardt made his move on Irvan, but it was Gordon who took the lead when Earnhardt got loose. And Jeff held on to win his first Busch Clash and a paycheck of $45,000. And Jeff Gordon, the winner of the Busch Clash, has joined us now here in our studio. I don't know about you, but I held my breath, and I would bet that everybody up there in the grandstand held their breath when you made that move. How was it?
I was definitely holding my breath, too. You know, when the two got side by side, I knew that was going to be the only opportunity for me to, if I had a chance to win that race, to go for it. And luckily, Brett was behind me, and I got behind Earnhardt, and he got a little bit loose, and as he started to drift up the track, left just enough room for me to peek underneath him, and it was pretty close. I know that. It was a very exciting race. I mean, for where I was sitting, but I'm sure for everybody up in the grandstands, too. It was great.
Jeff, I think that your year of experience enabled you to make that move. I don't think Jeff Gordon in 1993 would have tried to pass Earnhardt on the inside with just a couple of laps to go.
Well, it's hard to say. I wasn't in the Clash last year, and a year of experience does make a big difference, you know, as you well know. And I think it's made a big difference not just with me, but my team. The guys that have been working so hard to get these cars just perfect. And Ray Evernham, the crew chief, he fine-tuned on it at the brake there, and it definitely helped. The car was handling great. When somebody got right up behind me, I didn't have a problem with the car staying right underneath me, and you know, that seemed to be one of the problems that Earnhardt had, the reason why I got by him.
Was there any element of sandbagging, if you will, during that first 10-lap segment? I mean, do you really go for it during that segment?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a lot of money at stake, and I mean, even in the first part, you try to finish, you know, the best you can, and it really does not matter because you're going for it. You know, and look what happened. I mean, everybody came from the back. I started in the back. Earnhardt, everybody who really ran towards the front of the second half started in the back. So you can win it, you know, from any position because anything can happen. But a lot of luck involved, a lot of luck. And today we were very lucky. This track has been unbelievably good to me.
Is that the same car you're going to be running in the Daytona 500?
No, it's not. That's...
Now, wait a minute. You better rethink that.
we might do that, Benny. Really, the car that I chose, we had 2 cars and we tested everywhere, Talladega and here, and out of the 2 cars, there wasn't a big difference in speed, but the way they handled and the way they drove, the car for the 500 is a better car. So
a better car.
Well, in the draft, we'll have to see, but by itself, it may not be, you know, a real fast car. I mean, we didn't qualify very well, but we sure are going to be all right in the draft.
Well, of course, the weekend began with the pole-sitting run of Loy Allen Jr. Pretty much of a surprise. He qualified a little over 190 miles an hour to gain the pole position for the race a week from Sunday. Now, Earnhardt was second fastest qualifier, and Jeff, did that surprise you?
Well, I really didn't think anybody was going to touch Ernie Irvan. I thought,
you know, he went out early. It seemed like the track might have gotten a little bit better later on, but, you know, who would have thought of Loy Allen? I mean, he clicked off a lap that nobody was going to be able to compete with. But, yeah, it was a surprise that Earnhardt, you know he's going to be tough. He's always tough. When it comes to qualifying here, they've really got something together for qualifying, and he's going to be tough at Daytona no matter what.
Well, maybe you will be too. We certainly hope so. Great job today, and good luck in the Daytona 500.
Thank you very much.
Jeff Gordon, the winner of today's Busch Clash here at Daytona, and we'll be back with more of this edition of Speed Week in just a moment. Welcome back to Speed Week here at Daytona. There was big news from the International Motorsports Association earlier this week. On Tuesday, IMSA announced that it had been purchased by Florida businessman Charles Slater for an undisclosed amount of money. Now, this was the second sale of that organization since it was sold by its owner and founder, John Bishop, back in 1989.
The announcement came just 2 days after the IMSA season opened with the Rolex 24 at Daytona. President Dan Greenwood, who had come to IMSA just last February, will be replaced by former race promoter Hal Kelly. The sale comes at a critical time due to IMSA's debut of the Exxon World Sports Car Series, coupled with a schedule of less than 10 races planned for 1994. We spoke with new President Kelly in Tampa, and he had this to say about the sale and what he sees for professional sports cars in the near future.
Given the lateness of the closed part of Daytona, we chose not to make any announcement until after the Rolex 24. And so we are in a place now and things are operating smoothly and we're happy to go forward. Exxon World Sports Cars, are they on the right track? Absolutely. There's no question in our mind that that formula is going to serve as a basis for a quick transition from the days of the GTP cars to the WSC cars. And in essence, IMSA and in the U.S. is really the only place where sports cars, anybody's doing anything. We've got a great GT feel with the Exxon Supreme. The Exxon World Sports Cars, you're going to see continuing to add more entries, and we're going to have some real close competitive racing, and it's going to be quite a show.
And the next event on the IMSA schedule is the 12 Hours of Sebring. That comes up on March the 19th, and once again, ESPN will be there to cover it for you. Well, last week here on Speed Week, our drag racing expert, Dave McClellan, gave us a preview and some predictions for the 1994 NHRA season. At the Pomona opener last weekend, the campaign officially began, and Dave follows up on the action.
Thanks, Bob. Well, the battle lines have clearly been drawn in pro stock. Darrell Alderman, back from a 2-year absence, met up with defending champion Warren Johnson in the finals and treated the fans to one of the best side-by-side runs in pro stock history. Alderman had the quicker reaction, but it was Johnson who claimed career victory number 44 with a 7:09 elapsed time and a speed of over 195.5 miles an hour. With the top funny car qualifier, Cruz Pedregon, out in round 2, the finals pitted Al Hoffman against 1990 Rookie of the Year, K.C. Spurlock. Spurlock marked his return to NHRA competition with a faster reaction time and a 5:12 elapsed time at 2:84. This driver named Hollywood announced he's back.
This team has really come together quickly. All the guys are working together really, really well. This is not a dragster funny car team. This is a race team. And that showed today in the pits. All of the dragster guys were over helping the funny car guys. Everybody worked together as a team, and we are so happy.
The Top Fuel contest on Sunday turned in the most surprises. Those ousted in round 1 included Eddie Hill, Corey McLenathan, Scott Coletta, Kenny Bernstein, and Ed McCulloch. It came down to Shelley Anderson and Rance McDaniel, who each had one career Top Fuel victory. McDaniel smoked his tires badly, while in the far lane, Anderson had an explosion which caused debris to cut down a tire. Shelley was able to coast across the line for her second career victory. For Speed Week, I'm Dave McClellan.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. And in case you missed our earlier coverage today of the ARCA Daytona 200, here are the results. And we'll be back with more Speed Week in just a moment.
I don't need...
I'd like to say happy Valentine's to my wife, Glenda, who's been very patient the last couple of months. Happy Valentine's, Glenda.
My daddy and my Uncle Mike.
when is Valentine's Day?
Not into Valentine's Day much.
Happy Valentine's to all the race fans at Daytona, okay?
A Valentine's wish from all of you to me. Send me candy to 3676 Dunloy Way, High Point, North Carolina. Thank you very much.
By golly, it is tomorrow, Benny. Have you got your sweetie something?
Bob, you are getting me in so much trouble. Baby, I promise, I'm going to the store first thing in the morning. Okay?
At least your wife is down here. Mine is back in Indianapolis. Love you, Pam, and happy Valentine's Day. Well, the World of Outlaws kicked off their 1994 campaign with a 3-night stand up around St. Augustine. Marked the first time in several years that Doug Wolfgang, Steve Kinser, and Sammy Swindell are back full-time. Here's a report from Saturday Night Thunder co-host Larry Rice.
Thanks, Bob. Doug Wolfgang appeared to be in great spirits with 2 nights of dirt track racing under his belt.
I felt good last night. Excellent. Drove right straight around, felt totally in control, felt coordinated and everything, and was 15th fast time and run 13th in the main event. So I know I got a long way to go. I'm trying, I'm having fun. I'm not trying to put no pressure on myself, but I want to win so bad I can taste it.
Sammy Swindell led the 24-car field into the first turn, while Steve Kinser and Wolfgang avoided the loose car of Dave Blaney. It didn't take long before old pros Kinser and Wolfgang were dueling side by side, with Kinser holding on to second position. Kinser caught Swindell in lap traffic and held off Donnie Kreitz for the win and brought home $14,000 in prize money.
It really feels good when you come out and have some problems and you come right back to the same track the next night and get it figured out, and then you win a big race at the end, you know. You sort of think you're out of it, and then you're back. Oh, once you're back in it, and here you are at winner's circle.
All right, congratulations to Steve, and thank you, Larry. Well, here at Daytona, both the Hoosier and the Goodyear tire companies are involved in a little bit of a tire war in NASCAR Winston Cup competition. Now, this week out in Phoenix, Arizona, the new IndyCar Firestone tire was being tested for the first time. The last time that Firestone won in IndyCar racing was at Phoenix back in 1974. They plan a full return in 1995.
For the first time in 20 years, an Indy car with Firestone tires ran on an oval earlier this week, at Phoenix International Raceway to be exact. Patrick Racing and drivers Al Unser and Scott Pruitt are testing the tires for a full season of competition next year. Unfortunately, the 3-day test was plagued by rain showers.
As a driver, it's a little frustrating because you want to come here and go fast right away. But Bridgestone Firestone is real smart about how they put their program together. You know, they're gathering a lot of information. I mean, 20 years is a long time to be out of the sport, so it's going to take a little time, and they have it calculated exactly how they want the program to proceed, and we're just taking it one step at a time.
Al Spire, Firestone's motorsports manager, is hopeful that several teams will use the Firestones in '95.
We'll make the tires available to anybody and everybody who wants to run the tire. We do believe this is an exercise which will prove out in technology. Whichever company can come up technology-wise with the best tire, most of the teams are going to want to run. So absolutely, we'll make as many tires as people want to use.
Here's a look at our CarQuest racing calendar with events coming up. For all your auto parts needs, you'll find...
This has been a tough weekend for all of us here at ESPN. Just after learning of the death of Neil Bonnett, one of our own crew members died unexpectedly via heart attack Friday evening. Jack Foster, who worked for Broadcast Sports Technologies and helped bring the excitement of motorsports into your homes via the in-car camera, passed away of a heart attack. He was a technician and a pilot. And our thoughts and our sympathies are with his family and his wife, Karen. Well, for those of us who were involved in this sport, times like these are very tough but reflective. Neil Bonnett's one goal in life was very simple: to win the Daytona 500. For any stock car driver, it is the ultimate in achievement. And no matter what the odds, the risks, or the dangers, those who have won it becomes legends, and those who have not won it return time and time again.
It is the great American race, the Super Bowl of stock car racing, the Daytona 500. Win it, and your name is forever etched in the annals of motorsports history. There have been 35 of these contests with 23 different winners. Beginning in the modern era, the Daytona 500 was dominated by legends Richard Petty, Bobby Allison, and Cale Yarborough, a trio of champions who claimed 9 wins between 1971 and 1984. Since then, only Bill Elliott has been able to repeat victory in 1985 and 87. The past decade has brought us not only enduring memories, but a taste of the new generation. There remains, however, a group of some of the biggest stars in Winston Cup racing whose names are still missing from the elite list. Names like Gant, Labonte, Rudd, and Earnhardt. Men who could have and probably should have made the last left-hand turn into victory lane. For Harry Gant, 1994 is his 17th and last chance. The 54-year-old veteran will retire at the end of this year, and although he has finished second twice in the July race, his best finish in the 500 was 6th in 1984. Time is running out.
This is the last time we get a chance at the 500, and we have won here a long time ago in a sportsman car, but that's the only time we've ever got a victory here.
The driver making his 16th consecutive Daytona 500 start is 1984 Winston Cup champion Terry Labonte. He came oh so close in 1990, only to finish second to Derek Cope. For Terry, Daytona is a mystery he can't solve.
I don't know, the 500, you know, is the biggest race of the year, and it's the one everybody wants to win. And you come down here and we're here for, 10 days or so, and everybody's pretty pumped up about it. I don't know, it's a new season, new team. It's a great place to start the year, and it'd be even better to start with a win here.
Ricky Rudd has been in every Daytona 500, excluding one, since 1977, but he's had top 5 successes in only 3 races. Along with Gant, this will be start number 17, and if you'll remember, that was the magic number for Darrell Waltrip.
You keep coming back to Daytona, you know, that's the big one of the year, and it starts our season off, and you always hope that you're going to have your act together to be able to win this thing, and you just live for the day where you're going to crack it. You know, I'm not a quitter. I'm going to win this thing before I give up.
All of this now leads to the biggest Daytona shutout on record. 6-time NASCAR Winston Cup champion Dale Earnhardt has done everything but win the crown jewel of NASCAR. His resume here boasts 2 Pepsi 400 wins, 6 Twin 125 victories, including the last 4 in a row, 6 Busch Grand National wins, 5 Busch Clash titles, and a total of $1.3 million in earnings. Will his patience ever run out?
No. I approach it as you know, we got as good a shot to winning as anybody, and if not better in a lot, but the pressure's no more than any other year.
But in typical Earnhardt style, this race is run with a mindset looking much further ahead to a record-tying 7th NASCAR Winston Cup championship.
Win the championship and the Daytona 500. There's no priority, there's no list, it's all just there. It's a group.
Those comments from Dale Earnhardt before he learned of the death of his good friend Neil Bonnett. Thanks for being here, Benny. We got a lot more coverage for you next weekend. But for now, I'm Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.